Well, hi, my friends. This is Jay, and this is Jay's Knit and Purl Jam. I think I made it. I think I made April. Well, did you miss me? Well, I certainly have missed you. We had, I don't know, we had a lot of things going on. Well, first in March, and then in April, my husband and I lost a very dear friend, and so that we've known all our lives pretty much. And so we went to spend time with his family, and it was nice to sit back and reminisce. You know how you just sit. I didn't go to the funeral or anything, but we went to the house, you know, to the house with the family. And so it was a lot of fun to sit back and reminisce. You know, we weren't sad or anything. But all the while, when I would come home, I was working. You know, I'm always working. So I'll have something to share with my friends. Well, how are you? Are you doing well? I hope so. The weather is changing in most parts of the country, and I see a little, there's going to be a little cold weather snap up in some of the northern states, but I think it's going to just pass on through. So I hope that you are just ready to, I don't know, it may be a hot summer, but we're going to continue to just work. I've got a lot of new things to share. I have some, they're not new stitch books, but I found more stitch books out of my stash. Good books too. Oh yes. I've got some good stitch books to share, some nice stitches. I mean, I feel like my head is, I can't contain it all, people. I need more hands to knit or crochet. So I'm just gonna keep going, you know, going as fast as I can, and I hope you are coming along on the journey, take this journey with me. I hope you're ready to just really decide, you know what, Jay, I'm going to knit. I'm going to knit. We're going to still crochet, but I'm going to knit too, or either I'm going to cross over and give knitting a try. And one of the things that we're going to knit, when I first came on YouTube, I had this little sweater. I called it from a square to a sweater, because back in the day I was kind of doing dishcloths and things, but I always wanted to knit sweaters. So one day I looked and I thought, well, I put these two dishcloths together, I could have a sweater. And that's what happened. So this is kind of looking back at that sweater. This is Jay's Knit Deja Vu, a simple summer sweater. I'm going back to that original kind of simple design, a front and a back, but I've improved it. I've added sleeves, because that one didn't have any sleeves, and I don't think I wore it that much, you know, because I need a little sleeve. I don't like my armpits showing stuff. But anyway, so this is like the new improved, or the deja vu of that sweater. New improved version. And I think you're going to like it. It's an easy knit. I mean, once I got going, I just couldn't stop. We're going to take something that we've already worked on in another tutorial. I think it's tutorial 98. Something about knitting on a budget or something. But I'll put it in the links and everything. But remember, I said, remember this stitch, because we're going to use it again. Well, voila. here it is again. And I'm going to show you how easy to take that stitch, what we already learned. When you don't know what to do what you know, and put it in something new. Old and new. Well, I just wanted to pop up. I didn't want to do a full sit-down chat. I just wanted to pop up so I can get this edited and get it uploaded. But I just want to thank you so much for all the sweet comments and encouragement and all the messages. Jay, where are you? Jay! Oh, Jay's here. Jay's just working away. So, without further ado, because I have so many new things coming, crochet and knitting, I want to go ahead and get this one done because you need to get this little simple sweater down, because the next time you see this sweater, you will see it again. The next time we will change the front altogether, or whatever else you might want to do with it. So it's best to let's start. Come on and start it with me. Work this one step by step with me, and then you'll be ready for the next one and the next one and the next one. So without further ado, like I said, I just want to come on and just thank you so much for waiting on me. And I want to share with you Jay's Knit Deja Vu, a simple summer sweater, just for my friends. Well, I wanted first to go ahead and let's get into the overview of my Deja Vu sweater. As I said in the intro, that this is the sweater that I really started my YouTube journey with. I remember I was knitting the dishcloths, and one day I had two dishcloths, and I thought, man, if I put these together, I could make a sweater. And voila, I took off with the idea, and I've been running ever since. So this is just a recap or a reintroduction to the first sweater, where you have a front and a back. And of course, I have changed it and tried to make it much nicer and modified, and I believe I can explain it even better. And of course, worked in the sleeves, which that first sweater did not have. So let's go on an overview real quick, because I want to move. Like I say, I'm chasing the calendar. So, all right, first of all, as you can see, this is two pieces. I always like you to know how things are put together first, because it helps really. I'm a visual learner, and I hope people that follow me are visual learners, because I do not have written patterns. I can show you better than I can, sit down and try to, figure out how to write everything and everything I'm thinking and how, to change things. I just simply show you in step-by-step, in this step-by-step tutorial. So, of course, this is a front and a back. And in the front, we're simply going to start from the bottom. This is bottom up, so let me just put it down here, right here. Now, this is my original, so anything that I didn't like once I finished this one, then the one that I'm going to share with you, the numbers and everything, I have changed to make it better. Like if I saw something like, oh, I need to change that, well, I just went ahead and changed it instead of telling you to change it. When I shared the actual us working together. But here's the bottom. We're going to start at the bottom. And I will, we're using a US number 8. I'll go with the supplies in just a minute. But we just work back and forth. We're just doing garter stitches for the bottom. And I didn't have enough, so mine is rolling. But on the one I'm going to share with you, you will have more than I do. And so you won't have the problem with the rolling hem. Because I know Luce don't like that. Luce, I got you. Look, I got you covered. I got you. Okay. So, but we start at the bottom and we just simply knit up. Now, you can decide if you want a sporty look, which is with the border on each side. And we'll get into that when once we start knitting. Or if you just want to knit all the way to the edge and have it, that one stitch as like a little salvage or a little I guess you can call one stitch a border. But you can knit all the way to each edge. You do not have to have this border. I was thinking of a little more sporty or casual, But if you want yours more dressy, then you would just knit to the very edge. But we'll get into that. So anyway, we're knitting up, And everyone, we're going to knit to our underarm. And I'm going to tell you how easy to do easy count for those that are new with me. Like I said, I'm self-taught, so I try to make simple, easy, common sense steps to me so that I would remember the steps. And then that way I could continue to knit, you know, and come up with my designs. So you go up to your arm space here and make sure I'm on and over enough. Okay. I could pull it over just a little more. There you go. All right. So we'd go up to our arm space, and then I'm going to show you how to cast on sleeves so that you don't have to pick up sleeves for this sweater. And this is going to be a go-to. This will be like your go-to or your standard. You know how you have a basic sweater 101. All you have to do is just change anything in the front you want, which is pretty much what I do. So I will show you how to add the sleeves on both sides. They're nice sleeves. They're about down right above your elbow. They should come right above your elbow. So they're very nice, very comfortable, and just looks nice on your arms. All right, and then of course, then we're going to work. Now, some of you probably didn't do it, but there was a video where I did this little, I don't even know what I called it. It was more like a little, I don't know, I'll have to get the name of it. But I did yarn overs, and I showed you how to do yarn overs over both needles. Well, this is the yarn over pattern right here. I said, now don't forget this because we're going to use it and make a design. Well, here you go. Here's the design that I use using that same stitch. Just really simple. And once, especially for beginners, it's an easy way, and you don't drop your yarn overs doing it this method than if you do it the traditional method. All right, and then of course we have to go up and we have to make a neckline and space for our head to go in. Like I say, it's done in 2 pieces, and eventually we have to do the 3-needle bind off for our shoulder seam. I've left this side unworked so that I will have something, you know, to show you just to refresh those new how to do the 3-needle bind off. But we will work a beautiful little front neck band. And did I forget to say, all of this is in the knit stitch. You don't have to worry about purling. We're just going to knit everything. Well, in the stockinette. The stockinette portion you knit on the front, and then of course you purl on the wrong side. So now that part is, but once we finish that, then we're into all just knitting and relaxing. And of course the back, let me flip it over right quick. Let's see what I can do for the back. Show you what I did. Okay, you know, I try to, because you know my things are large, they take time. You know, it's not something you know, it's not like a scarf or something. There's a lot of knitting in this. So on the back, you could leave it completely plain, but I decided to go ahead and put some of this, this is garter stitches. This is where you knit every row. On every side, you just simply knit. I left about 2, maybe 3 inches or so that when I met the front, the back and the front meet up, they have a, you know, they match, they go together. So that's the back, and then of course here's the back neck opening right there, and then there's a sweater. So, overview, quick and easy. This is great if you are new to my channel, or you're new knitting with me, or you're a visual learner. I believe that you will enjoy this. This is a way to get in to kind of see, you know, work some of my projects, some of my designs, and of course, I'm going to take you step by step. So, let me show you the next step are the yarns and your needles. And most of you already who follow me, you have pretty much, because you know I'm a stickler about trying to use what you already have. Buy what you need when you need it, but, you know, we do the same steps, so you should have most of these supplies. Back in just a minute. All right, let me quickly run through our simple supplies. A simple sweater, so all we need are some simple supplies. All right, and of course, you know, I try to make it a stash busting project, so If you have, depending on your size, anywhere from 3 to 4 of these skeins, whichever you like, or you may have other yarn choices than the ones I'm going to show you. All right, first of all, of course, we're working with medium weight yarn number 4, and that my range is like Caron Simply Soft. That's just something everyone can easy, and it's available, and it's not going to break the bank, and you probably have. This one probably won't take but 2 skeins, one for the back and one for the front, because it's usually is very generous in the yardage, and it depends on your size. But try to, this is an old skein, but that was 315 yards. Okay, but Caron Simply Soft, okay, and then how about Premier Everyday, not baby, just everyday, the number 4 weight. It calls for US number 8, and that's what we're working in. It's a very nice yarn. I've been working a lot of projects in this yarn, for the things that I knit. Now, if you want some, some hand-dyed or something, some nicer yarn, like I say, just see if it's about the size of the yarns that I'm showing you. Because there are some really small, some really thin number 4s. Well, not those. Otherwise, you have to recount all your stitches if you drop down the yarn to a really thin number 4 or number 3. You have to redo it with the appropriate needle. We are using number 8s and medium weight yarns. All right, even this here is some Hobby Lobby for those who just have some and say, well, I just want to try it, Jay. I'm still new at knitting, so I don't want to spend a lot yet, but I want to give it a try. Here's some Hobby Lobby print. It's real pretty. I think that would make a really pretty sweater for the summer. What do you think? Look at that color. Look at those colors. It's not really a variegated. I don't know. I don't know what, they don't say what it is. They just call it print. Okay. And then, of course, I'm using Red Heart Soft. That's the Red Heart that I like. I usually don't use the other Super Saver or some of the others when I'm doing my sweaters. But Red Heart Soft is a great yarn. But it's very stretchy. Very stretchy. And I'm using it in the white. But I just wanted you to see. You could use it in any color you want. Alright, that's the yarn. Okay, now, as the supplies. Alright, needles. This sweater, and if you're going to knit sweaters with me, this is one that you need to have the needles ready. The top down, I have these basic 2 sweaters. I've got my sweaters for my US number 8s, which we're about to do. And I'm going to give you a size chart. It's just a help for you to try to see if you fit into one of those different categories of stitches. All right. And then, of course, my US number 9s, which I mainly use for anything that's to be worn open down the front or a little, a little heavier, but especially the top-down sweaters. You saw me do those in a number 9. All right, this is number 8s. This will not work. These numbers won't work on a 7 or any of them. You have to refigure everything. For this sweater, you will need, because we will continue to knit this sweater over and over and put something different in it. Next time you see it, if it's in the fall, I'll probably have a cable in it. But you'll still use these needles. You need 2. I'm using US 8 needles, 36 inches in length. US number 8 bamboo. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with the company, but if you are a new knitter or just, you just don't knit that much and you want to knit this sweater, I'm telling you, you want to start with bamboo needles. Not because, like I say, I'm not sponsored or anything, but they're just easy on your joints. Look, they're just easy on your joints. They hold the stitch on there, so you're not dropping. We're going to have a lot of yarn overs. And if you want to try to use those metal needles, they're going to be sliding off, and you're just going to be like, Jay, I have to start over and over and over. So just get some bamboo needles, people. They're inexpensive. If you get a coupon, they're even better. Easy. It's a plus any way you look at it, even for seasoned knitters like me. And I got some top name needles. I got some of those other ones. But it eventually just wears your muscle in your hands out because they're so slippery when you're trying to hold that yarn on. But these, I'm telling you, if you're senior like me. Trust me. All right, now I'm not going to, all right, there, you need 2. Then, when we get up to the shoulders and get ready to do our 3-needle bind off, to separate the fronts, you're going to need 2 sets. See if I'm on camera here. These are US 8 straights. These are just your straight needles. You can get short straight ones, but there's going to be a lot of stitches, and I'd hate for you to have to push them all up, and they're about like that size, and I hate for you to try to squeeze all those stitches, especially if you're up in the larger sizes. So just go and get long ones. You're going to need them. We're going to knit this sweater over and over, people. Jay's got plans. Oh, I got some plans. But I'm laying the foundation so I don't have to go through this every time. I can simply say, Simple Sweater 101. Without 8 needles, you know exactly you'll know exactly what stitch to cast on. You'll know what needles to have. All right, so there's that. That's where we're going to start. This is what you need. All right, of course, you need some caps to keep your stitches from falling off, and some stitch markers. Just regular stuff. I'll start putting in once I get over this part. All right, so that is yarn and needles. Now, the next thing we need to do is, there's not there's not like going to be a formula, because everybody's going to, let me just get out the sample, and let me show you, walk you through it. This one's going to be really easy. Back in just a minute. So here we go. If you notice, I went ahead and put up an information sheet with some general information, the yarn, the needles again, just so that you'll have it, you'll have a place to go in and to look it up if you need to. And I also gave you a size chart help, and that's what it is. It's a help. I simply, I don't know your body, but I use myself as an example, and I calculate my stitches. I sit and count my stitches, and with just regular math I can generate different sizes, and that's what I've tried to do. So you need to still count, just like we've shown before. You still need to sit and count your stitches, how many stitches it takes to go from this to that, to one side to the other. And I'll put a link on to that tutorial again, so you can just really sit there and do that if you haven't knitted with me before. But most of you have your numbers. You've knitted a sweater and you have a number. This is not an open down the front sweater, a US number 9. Remember, it's an 8. So look at the size chart and see if you can find yourself one of those numbers or groups or the category to fit into, and let's get started. All right, so I represent the large. Now see, in knitting I can wear a large. People, y'all can see I'm not a large. But knit stretches, so if I made this sweater in a bigger size, it would just be too large for, it just makes me look even worse. So I represent the large size. And I know on my US number 8, I've done it so many times, I don't even have to do it again unless I change the yarns or change the needles. I have, my stitch count is 92. Now that's a range of 92. If for some reason I'm working on a pattern and I need a couple of extra stitches, well, I have 4 stitches that I can go up from 92. I can go 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. I can go up to 96 on this 8. To try to get a pattern in, or maybe a lace stitch or something, and still the sweater will fit. Or I can go down 4 stitches. So it is a range, but the range for me starts at 92. That's my number. I have 92 stitches in the front. Well, that means I have 92 stitches for the back of my sweater. 2 pieces. 92, 92. Yours could be 84, 84, whatever it is. All right, so, but the first thing we're going to do is take our number 8s and cast on. Cast on your number of stitches. I've already cast on 92 stitches here. And then the next thing we're going to do, I had to go ahead and do it so I can get ahead. But the next thing you will do is once you cast on, okay, on your circle of needles, then you are going to knit 6 rows. You're going to just sit there and just knit back and forth. No purling, just knit 1, 2. You're going to knit 6 rows. When you finish the 6th row and turn the work, you will be on the right side. And that's the side we will start the stockinette. This is garter stitch where you knit every row, which we will add at the top of the sweater. As we get to the top, the middle of the sweater is going to be stockinette. That means you knit on the front, and when we turn the work, you have to purl on the back. Just really simple. All right, so I've cast on my 92 stitches. Now you can make, once you cast on and you knit the 6 rows, and now we're on the right side again, this is where you can make a decision. Do you see here I have a marker, and of course you're going to be down here. I'm up here because I need to be ahead on this sample so I can walk you through it. See if I'm on camera. Yeah, okay. So now watch. I have set aside 4 stitches to start with and to end with that I'm making a border. I don't know, sometimes I just like a little border. You know, I do it a lot on sweaters, and I call that more of a relaxed fit, you know, sporty look, just something nice. Okay, but you may not want the border. You may just want to knit all the way to the edge of the sweater. You can do that, and it's more, a little more dressy to me if you knit all the way to the edge. You have this bottom border, you have to have that, but once you get to row 7, instead of doing these 4 stitches in garter stitch, knit every row, you will simply, now, if you're a seasoned knitter and you normally slip the first and last stitch, continue to do that. That's what you're used to. If you're not, you know, you're still pretty new, I suggest you knit this stitch, the very first stitch, knit. And then, of course, you knit all the way across. And then you're going to knit the last stitch. And you're going to do that on every row. Whether you're on the back side, whether you're on the purl side, or the right side. The first and last stitch. And you'll see why when we get ready to sew up. It makes little bumps. If you do the border, you're going to have the garter ridge. You're going to have these little ridges. And these are going to come in handy. I'm going to show you in just a minute how we're going to use those. But you can also use the little bumps, okay, if you just knit the first and last stitch. All right, so now, let's pretend a little bit. Oh, okay, Jay, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. I have to do my own sound effects. Okay, so, all right, so here's my sweater. Here's the beginning of my sweater. All right, let's see, can I put over, get as much in here in the frame as possible. I hope it's close enough. All right. So I've knit 6 rows, and as you can see, I'd had 4 stitches. I put a mark. I just knit 4 stitches, put a marker. I'm down here now, or you're down here at the beginning. And then I start knitting. Since this is the front, you can tell, I just knit all the way across to this end, put a marker, knit the last 4 stitches. All right, turn the work. If you want, like I say, if you want the border, or you don't have to have the border. All right, so when I turn the work, I'm on the purl side. But I still continue to knit these 4 stitches. I just knit and just knit them across, put my yarn in front. Now I'm going to purl on the back side. I purl all of these stitches because this is the wrong side of the fabric. Now, this is what I wanted to get to. You know, since I taught myself how to knit, I had to do it as simple, and I had to try to use what I call common knit sense. I just made that up because I didn't know anything else. You know, I didn't have anybody to help me. Okay. So, now we have to go take, oops, hair. Okay, so now we have to take the stockinette up to the underarm. we have to knit on the front, purl on the back, and continue to go and keep the border going so that till we reach the underarm space. Now you can take a blouse or something and measure a t-shirt or something. I'm using 11 inches for this sweater. 11 inches. All right, so that means I got to continue to knit. Now I'm going to switch and show you on the real one. I think I can show it better. All right, now I'm just going to switch real quick, and then I'll come back when we do the sample. Okay. Let me see if the camera's okay with the big one. Okay. Let's go out a little bit. Maybe I can get it all in. How about that? Okay, so now let me walk you through this. So here's my sweater. And I'm at the bottom. As you can see, I've knit up to where I feel like it's my underarm space. And I chose, and 11 inches was what I finally settled on. I thought about 10, but I went on up to 11. All right, now you can measure with the measuring tape, of course. And that's fine. But sometimes people get off in their measurement. So this is what I do, and I hope you start doing this little trick too. I call it easy count. I find something in my sweater to count, and these ridges are perfect. Let me pull it close to the camera so you can see it. These little garter ridges where we knit every row right there. All right, start past the border, the bottom border. And I'm going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. So I settled on, now I could have gone a little higher if I, but I thought that was, after I measured it, that was pretty close to 11. So I stopped. I knit until I had 30 of these little ridges. You see them all along the edge. Lot easier because, well, first of all, each front's going to be exactly the same, but when we get to the back, all you're going to do, instead of trying to measure and figure out where to go, you just keep knitting the back, and you'll go up how many? Now, you might need, if you're tall, you might need 34. You might need, I just try to settle on an even number so I can remember it. If you're short, you may not need but 28, shorter than me. But you see what I'm saying? However many inches, you can measure with the tape, but for the end results, I would stop and count, not counting the border. I would count these garter ridge rows right here, and I have 30. So I take my pencil, my pen, and I mark that down on something so I'll remember, because I have to duplicate it on the back. So now, once I get to 30, then I want to stop, and then I simply start. We're going to add our sleeve. Once I get to my underarm space, can you see that right there? You can see how I've added on stitches here and there on the opposite side. Well, I've got to cast on, and then I'm going to be working back and forth in stockinette again for this sleeve. Now, I'll bring the sample back, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. How, after you knit up, you decide on a number that's close to your underarm, 30, 32, 34, 36, however many ridges. Then we are going to add the sleeve. All right, I'll be right back, and we're going to do our sleeve. All right, so I have the sample back. So now we're in pretend mode. We're in pretend mode that I have knit my front of the sweater up to however many of these ridges or inches to my arm space. Now I want to add the sleeve. But let me just say this, give you this little tip before we start. The reason we have 2 needles, number 8 circulars, okay, I would, when I had a chance, I would go ahead and cast on the back and knit my 6 rows, just like that. And then on the 7th row, I would start and duplicate whatever I've done on the front of the sweater, whether it's knit all the way to the edge or set in a border, and knit and start knitting all the way up to however many ridges you have that you decided, or however many little bumps on the end. You can count the little bumps or the ridges. You see that the back, you can carry to work, you can carry it back and forth if you commute and you need something to knit, because it's just knitting back and forth. You can knit on your lunch hour. You can just knit and back and forth on the back of the sweater. Voila. That's why we have two needles. All right, so now I'm on the front, and I'm getting ready to show you how to cast on. We have done this on other sweaters, but I want to make sure that you know how to do it, or at least show you how I do it. There's lots of ways you can do it. You may have your own. I'm just sharing. All right, so I start here, and I'm up to my underarm. Now I want to stop. I want to stop this border, this under. Now I want to add a sleeve. So I come over here. Let me just tell you, I'm going to add 8 stitches for the sleeve, and then 4 more stitches for a border. 8 stitches for the sleeve. Here is the sleeve. You can see it. Then if you look right here real close, I have a border because I don't want to have to pick up stitches when I'm done. I want this sweater to be done. And I think you will too. All right, so this is how I do. I just simply knit on my stitches. I'm going to knit on 8, and I suggest everyone use 8. It's just really great, and then we'll add the 4 for the border. So I take my needle, I stick it into the last stitch right there, after I'm, when I get to the right place. Now I just simply knit, pull the stitch out a little bit, twist it, and pop it on to the left-hand needle. Bring it closer. Stick your needle in, wrap your yarn, knit the stitch, pull it out a little bit, pop it onto that needle there. That was 2. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then you're going to say, Jay, that doesn't look like a sleeve. That's what I'm telling you. Knitting is so strange. You think you don't have enough, or you're going to look at those stitches on the needle, you're going to go, oh, it's not enough. Trust me, it's going to make a nice sleeve. All right, now I'm going to go and add 4 more for a garter stitch border. So let's go 4 more. That's 1. That's 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to stop and count. Let's just look at, okay, I know I had 4 to start with, so let's take those out. There's a 4 right there. So I started with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can count these. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stitches. All right, so now all I have to do is just start knitting, because I'm on the front, and I want to start knitting this sleeve in with the sweater. I'm not going to have to pick up any stitches. You're going to love, if you learn this, just practice this little simple sleeve. Man, it's a lifesaver. You can just put a sleeve on any little thing. And if I could just figure out crocheting about sleeves, that's my kryptonite in crocheting. Jay can't understand sleeves. But I'm sure I'll master it one day. Okay, now if you want to, you can get rid of that marker, because we're going to continue to knit across just like this. Look, see? There's a sleeve. There's the side of the sweater. All right, I'm going to continue to knit across, and I'll see you when I get to the other end so I can show you how to put the stitches on the opposite end. All right. All right, so I've knit over to the opposite end of this sample. Make sure I get enough yarn before I start. And I'm going to add on this side the same 8 stitches plus the 4 extra for a little garter border on the sleeve. So I'll just make sure that you can see me. And I can go ahead, you can drop this marker. I think we can drop that. And here are the, because this will end the side border. Alright, so now I knit all the way up to the last stitch. Okay, now some people do the backwards loop cast on, or you may have your own favorite if you're a seasoned knitter. Since I knit the stitches on that side, I don't know, I just got used to trying to knit them on this side instead of just casting them on like, you know, with your thumb. So here we go. In the last stitch, I knit, and then I just simply knit into the back also. I knit into the front and into the back. So that's one stitch. It's cast on, actually knitted on. Alright, so here, let's do another one. I got to do 12. That's 1. That's 2. It's a little awkward at first. That's 3. And you can pull it, you know, tighten up on it a little bit so they're not just, okay, always go back into the last stitch. That's 4. Let's see, can I kind of hurry it up now? That's 5. That's 6. There's 7, and you go just pivot and go into the back of the stitch just like that. So you just go into the back. That's 8. Let me go to the 4. 2, 4. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 7. One more to make it 8, and then I have to add the 4. Whew. Hope I'm in camera range. I'm all off the camera. Sorry. Oh gosh. Okay. That should be 8. Now I need to add 4 more for a border. This is 1. Oh, this is just, my hands are already sweating, people. I'm like, this year's just getting, this is just now. The temperature, one day it got up to 80. But now it wasn't quite that hot today, but it is when you go outside. Okay, let me just stop. Okay, all right, let's go back over here. All right, let's have the 4, get the 4 out of the way, because you know we started with 4. All right, now let me count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 stitches I have knitted on just like I knitted on the other side. That's the only reason I do it that way. That doesn't mean that's the only way. Do whatever that you're used to. Now, let me make sure I'm back on camera. I was all off camera. I don't know where I was going. Oops. Then I hit the camera. Can you guess? It's the midnight hour. Not quite, but it's getting there. You know, I get all hyper when it starts getting close to the midnight. All right, so now, now I need to purl back. See, now that's the purl side. But the first thing I need to do is set in new markers for this border on the sleeve. So I'm going to knit 1, 2, 3, and 4. I knit those stitches, then yarn in front, because now I need to purl back and go all the way to the other side. Well, just like this. Just something about knitting at night. Okay, so I have my 4, and I'm knitting. I'm just working on the wrong side, so this is stockinette, so I am purling. I'm going to purl all the way to the other border. Okay, so once I purl over to the other side, I'll meet you at the last border, and then I'll tell you the next step, or we'll talk a minute. All right, continue across. Okay, so I have knit across, and then I started back. I really forgot. I just got to knit and couldn't stop. But as you can see, I stayed in pattern. Here's my 4-stitch border now. This is the new border. All the body is done for now until we get ready to sew. Now we need to concentrate on how many of these ridges will I need to go up to make a sleeve. Okay? How many of these ridges will I need to go up to make a sleeve? Now I'm thinking for a small size, maybe 6 inches. We're talking about the front of the sleeve. Let me get the original. We're talking about measuring this part of the sleeve, just the front. The back, automatically you'll get the same number of inches, but here is like the front of the sleeve. Maybe a small would be 6 inches from here to here, from the seam to the shoulder seam. All right, then a medium could be 7 inches, around 7 inches. I represent the large, so I use 8 inches. Now this sleeve is going to fall right above your elbow, right in here. I hope I'm not too close, but it's not going to go below your elbow. It's right in here. But the stitch will pull in the yarn. It's going to, the way the stitch is, it's going to pull it in, so it's not a loose, baggy, hanging sleeve. When you put it on, you're going to go, oh man, that's a nice fit. So I represent the medium, so I did 8 inches. That's how I calculated my sleeve, or I measured my sleeve in inches. If you're larger, then 9 inches. I don't think I'd go above 9, unless for some reason you think you needed to. But larger size is 9 inches, because you get 9 on the front, and of course your back sleeve will have 9 also. But now let me tell you why. The reason I'm telling you this now, because let me show you this. Now the most important thing, like I said, is how many inches or ridges. We can also count the ridges to get to our shoulders. And we're going to do, I think everyone can do this, we're going to work back and forth in stockinette. Here we are right down here. We've just put on the sleeve and we're working back and forth. And we're going to work till we have reached or completed 6 ridges. So 2, 4, 6. So you will work back and forth on your piece here, knit on the front, purl on the back. There's another ridge. Knit on the front, purl on the back. But you have to knit these 4 stitches every row to get the ridge. Once you have, not counting this little edge, that's the little part we're going to sew. Not counting that, but counting ridges. You'll have 2, 4, 6. I completed 6. The next row will be a wrong side row, and that's where we will join up again, so I can show you the transitional stitch, so that we can get ready to go into the yarn overs and have some fun. So everyone, don't count this bottom edge. That's the part we need to sew. It's ridges right here on the sleeve. 2, 4, 6. I complete 6. And then I'm on the next right side row. The next row I want to be on is a wrong side. I'm sorry. The next row after I complete 6, I want to be on a wrong side row. And that's where I will meet back with you and then show you how to transition and get ready for the yarn overs. So now I've got work to do. I've got to go back and forth just knitting. Knit on the front, purl on the back. Counting your ridges. I will see you after I finish 6 ridges. Take care. Whew. I think I'll get ready to go to bed. Good night. All right, so I'm back real quick, and as you can see, when I left, you were to knit back and forth in stockinette, knit on the front, purl on the back, because we're trying to now work our sleeve and then add our front lace. So you were supposed to knit at least till you have at least 6 garter ridges, not counting that first little, that's going to be where we're going to sew. So 2, 4, 6. I have 6 garter ridges, and I've knit all the way across. Now listen, if you are of one of the larger sizes, then go 8. You may need 8. This is simply the part that will be under your arm, and I didn't want to start the lace under your arm. So all I'm trying to do is make a little space, okay, so that we can go ahead and start our yarn overs. So all right, so like I say, if you're a larger size, just go ahead and do 8 garter ridges along this edge of your sleeve. That's what we're counting now. We're done with the body. Now we're on up to the top of the sweater. All right, so as you can see, I've already knit across. I have my 6 on that side, and I have my 6 here. Now, once I reach 6 or 8, then when I turn the work, of course I'm going to be on the wrong side. Now, on this side, we're going to put the foundation for our lace, and we're simply going to knit on the wrong side. So I'm starting out. We've created a space. Now I want to stop the stockinette. Yay! And we are going to really work and concentrate on garter, working the garter stitches, and of course our yarn overs. So as you can see, on the wrong side of the fabric, this is the purl side. Now I'm going to knit. Let me go to the front so I can show you what it looks like. In fact, I'll get the original out. Oops, I had a little misstep there. I am knitting, and when you knit on the wrong side, it of course forms the garter ridge on the right side. I'm just going to turn a minute. Now, let me get the original so you can see where we're going. Alright, here we go. Here's the sweater. Let me check my camera, see if I'm on just what I want to be perfect. Go this way. Okay, here we go. Alright, so, let me hit the camera. Alright, right here, after we made this space, now I need you to knit all the way across on that wrong side, then knit back. Knit across on the wrong side again, knit back. And then the next row we will be on the right side. We need 2 garter ridges, or 2 knit rows, right there, 1, 2, to set our lace on. We'll do the lace, then we'll do 2 more. And if you new to knitting and you haven't, if you're not really thinking about it, every time I need a garter ridge on the front, I have to knit 2 rows. I have to knit a row on the wrong side, then knit back on the right side, knit on the wrong side, knit back on the right side. So that's what you will have to do. I need 2 rows of garter right there. So in other words, you're just going to knit until you have 2. The next right side row, we will start our yarn overs. Does that make sense? That's where we are on this sweater. See, it makes sense if I show you exactly where you are. Now we're working these 2 rows of garter to build our lace on. And it makes a separation, and it stops the stockinette, no more of the, knit and purl. Alright, so going back to my little sample. Alright, so now you see where we are. And like I say, you will continue. Be sure you are knitting on the wrong side of this fabric. And I will see you after you have at least 2 rows on the front of the sweater, 2 garter ridges. Alright, and we will get ready to do the yarn overs. Back in just a moment. Alright, I've come back. I've worked up to where I want to start the lace. Let's just recap real quick. You're supposed to knit back and forth until you knitting on the right side. You don't have to purl now. We're just knitting no matter what side for garter stitches. So now I have 2 ridges right there. You see? I have 2 garter ridges. Now I'm on the right side. And if I said it wrong, that's what I wanted you to have. 2 garter ridges, and then now we're together on a right side row. The next row is a right side row, and we want to start our yarn overs. Now, do you remember back in episode 98, Jay's, I think it was holiday gifts on a budget or something like that. Oh, I love this little wrap. Do you remember this little wrap? And we did some yarn overs. Let's see, can I back it back a little bit? I'm trying to stop changing the camera so much. I'm bad about that. Okay. But do you see the pretty little simple yarn overs? Okay. That's what this is. And I said, now remember this stitch because we're going to use it in a project. Well, guess what? This is a project. The sweater. So there are the yarn overs, and now I'm going to walk you through it again. And like I said, I will put a link to this for those who didn't work it. Yes, it was in the, and the weather was a lot colder, but you can always do it and put it up for a gift. That's just what it was. It was a gift on a budget. Or you could do it in pastels, and some people like fringe all year long. Put a little, you could do it in a pretty pastel color. But anyway, that is a little wrap. So can I back out just a little bit, just so you can see it. This is a little wrap from episode 98. Now, what I will do, like I said, I'll put a link, and then you can go over and try this one too. But if you did that one and you go, oh yeah, I like that one, Jay. Okay, yes, I see. All right, so now we want to get back. Let me show you again. Now I'm gonna bring the camera in just a little bit. All right, we're gonna go through step by step how to work these simple yarn overs. And like I said, it works a lot better on these bamboo needles because it's gonna hold your yarn. All right, here we go. I'm on the right side of the work. I have my 2 garter ridges, my 2 stitches there to put my lace on top. You need that to kind of hold the lace. All right, so first of all, I still need to knit my 4 stitches for a border. We have to stay in pattern. And I'm going to make this one a lot easier. Then I'm going to slide my marker. Now, every stitch from this stitch all the way across to the next marker, this is how you're going to work the yarn overs. I put my needle in to knit, just like that. Now watch, yarn over both needles, and then over one, the needle in the back. Bring the loop through, needle in, yarn over 2, then 1, needle in, yarn over 2, then 1, needle in, yarn over 2, and then 1. So needle in, yarn over 2, then 1, yarn over 2, then 1, yarn over 2. Some of them taught me this a long time ago because I think I took a workshop or a class or something. Anyway, we was doing a traditional yarn overs where you yarn over, knit 2 together, yarn over, and yarn over twice. I think it was yarn over twice, and then go from there. But then if I lost one, or one of them slipped off, it was a mess trying to figure out how to get that thing back on. So I was introduced to this, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. See, look, I'm talking or whatever, my needle drops out, the loops stay, see, the loops are right there. But if you use the bamboos, they will hold your loops. Look, they'll hold your loops. So, needle in, yarn over 2, then 1. Oops, make sure you get the 1 in the back. Yarn over 2, then 1. And after a while, as you go across the row, you'll develop a little rhythm. All right, so now this is the stitch that we're using on this sweater. See, try to use what we all, look, when you don't know what to do what you know. We know this one because we finished it in episode 98. So now look, nice clean, and you don't have to worry about losing those double yarn overs or wraps or whatever. All right, I will see you as we get close to the opposite end, and then I'll tell you the next step, just to remind you what to do, and then show you, go over the original, how it looks. All right, keep going. Needle in every stitch, yarn over 2, then 1. All right, back in just a minute. Take your time on this. All right, back in just a minute. All right, so I'm coming up to the end of our first row of yarn overs. Just getting enough yarn here so I can make it to the end. So continue. Yarn over 2, then 1. Yarn over 2, then 1. Yarn over 2, all the way to the marker. Yarn over 2, then 1. Then 1. And then yarn over 2, then 1. All right. Then slide this marker, and of course we have to keep our pattern going for our border. I got a little split yarn there. All right, so now I want to get to this point. All right, when you get to the end, you have to just knit back. We turn the work. Yes, we're on the wrong side, but now we just knit back all these. I wanted to make sure that you did that, and then so you go back into pattern. I knit these first 4 stitches because that's my little sleeve border. You're going to be so happy you don't have to pick up any stitches when we're done. Now, here we go. We just knit on the wrong side, knit every loop. Just take your time. Like saying, if you accidentally drop one, it's easy to pick it back up because it's not going to be that regular loop where you have to, you know, try to figure out how to get it back on. You're going to be able to just get it back on, just like I did right there. Okay. And knit every loop. Just take your time. Go into every loop, knit it, and now let me switch to the original just so I can show you something. Alright, so now on the original, back just a little bit so you can see this. Alright, here we go. On my original, after you knit across like we were doing, and then you turn the work, okay, then you have to knit 2 rows. Once we knit across all of the loops, then we have to knit back to get on the right side because we're on the wrong side. Okay, so now you're going to knit 2 rows. And see, there's my next 2 rows because you'll have 2 ridges. See, you'll have 2 ridges. All right, then on the next right side row, we start our yarn overs again. I will go ahead and let you work a little bit, and then I'll come back to make sure that yours look just like my sweater, just that we're on the same page. But you can see the ridges now. I pulled it out really good. All right, so here we are. Now we have to knit all the way to get back to a right side row, and then we knit 2 rows. Well, it'll form 2 ridges, but you just knit 2 rows. That's all you got to remember. Knit 2 rows. You'll be back on the right side. I will join you back. All right, back in just a minute. Okay, I've come back. I have finished. I wanted to make sure we're on the same page. As you can see, I have my 2 rows. I've knit 2 rows, so now I'm back on the front side. And I'm ready to start another yarn over row. So we'll do that, and then we're going to talk a minute because you'll get to decide a few things. You know, because Everybody's body is different. So I have to knit over, of course. This is what you'll do once you're back on the front side and you're ready for your next yarn over row. Knit the first 4 stitches, slide the marker, and here we go again. I just thought I'd come back and do it. It's a lot of fun. Okay. Needle in. Yarn over 2. 1, 2, and then 1. Pull the loop through. Needle in. Yarn over 2, then 1. And now we start the whole process again, just like on that little wrap I did. A little more yarn. And so now we're putting yarn over 2, then 1. Needle in, yarn over 2, then 1. Needle in, yarn over 2, then 1. It's a simple way just to have something extra. The whole idea of this is to get the sweater down to all the numbers that will fit you and that you can work with, and then we can change the front, put all kind of lace stitches. Now the next one I'm going to try to find something really, a lot more complicated in the lace, but you will have the sweater and the parts of the sweater down just perfect. Now, you see what I've done? I've started the new row of the yarn overs. I will continue across, or you will continue across, then you have to knit back to get to the front again. You just automatically knit back to get to the front. And when you get to the front, after this row, then you knit 2 rows. You just automatically knit 1 row, 2 rows, and then start the progress. Now let me, the process over. Let me show you the original. Let me switch real quick so we can talk just a minute. Okay, here is the original sweater. Here's my sweater, my prototype. Of course, I corrected anything as I went so that you got the good prototype, good copy. All right, so now watch. Now you get to choose a little bit of how many of these yarn over or lace rows you want. Okay, there's a small size. Well, the main thing is you still have to keep in mind of how many inches wide is your sleeve. That dictates how much room you have to get from underarm to the top of your shoulders so that we can put the back and the front together. For small, I estimate it to be about 6 inches. From here to here, 6 inches. Medium, 7 inches. I represent the large in the middle, 8 inches from here to here. And of course, if you're a larger size, just go ahead and do 9 inches from here to here. And the way this little pattern works, it's going to pull this sleeve in. You see how it kind of pulls it in? So that makes it's not going to be a big old wide floppy sleeve. It's going to look real nice. All right, so now what I'm trying to get to, since I'm short, and everybody's probably taller than me, I was able to get at least 4 repeats of the yarn overs in my sweater front. I have 4 repeats plus the 2 knit rows in between. This is where you will have to hold it up after you do. Go ahead and do at least 4. Just follow me, do the 4. And when you get to the 4th one, then you're going to have to hold it up to your body to see if you are tall, go up 5. Or taller, or you just want more. And if you have room, you got to save at least. You got to have a little room left because you're going to need at least 2 inches or more, 2 to 3 inches. Unless you're just real tall, but at least 2 to 3 inches to get from the neck space up to your shoulders. And remember, you have to have to, every once in a while, stop and measure your sleeve to see if you're not going to overrun your designated sleeve, how many inches. If you overrun, if I overrun my 8 and I keep going with the lace, and already I'm up to 10, I'm going like, okay, that's going to make my sleeve. The sleeve dictates how much room you have. How many inches you have in your sleeve from top to bottom tells you about how far, the room you have to put in this lace. And then, of course, all the garter ridges for the neckline, for the shoulders. See, that's your shoulder line there that we're going to do the 3-needle bind off to connect it to the back. All right, now while I'm talking, let me flip to the back. I didn't think about that. All right, so because we have kind of forgotten the back, we've left the back off because that's something you could do. You could take with you to work. You can do a lot of things when you're not working on the front, so that you don't have to go all the way to the bottom and start over. Okay, now. Okay, I'm trying not to move the camera. I'm trying to move the fabric. Okay, so here's my sleeve on the back. All right, so I just keep knitting in stock. Now this one you do have to stay in stockinette. I'm just knitting back and forth, knit on the front, purl on the back, keeping my borders. All right, and I go up. I don't know yet. Like I said, I know how many inches, but I don't know how many of these garter ridges it's going to take to get up to my shoulders. But I can continue to work. But I stopped about, that was about 2.5 inches from where I thought my shoulder. And I just stopped the stockinette and just went into knit every row. Can you see that? So you can also do that. I went up, who knows, let's see. Well, everyone's going to be different. So, but just know how many inches, and maybe out of that 8 inches, I stopped maybe 3 inches before I knew I was going to get to my 8 inches. And I just started working in straight knit every row, just to put something on the back so that when I got ready to do the 3-needle bind off, I've got garter stitch and garter stitch coming together like that. When we do the 3-needle bind off and put these two together, you will have garter stitch matching garter stitch. It doesn't matter, you can just do it all in stockinette, but I just thought that would be interesting. And also, since we're going to have a garter stitch front edge at the neck, when I show you that, it will also give you a garter stitch back neck edge. Does that make sense? So it just matches all up. It just looks nice by putting a little of the garter ridge or knit every row about 3 inches on the back. What do you think of that? 2.5 inches, 3 inches, depending on how tall you are. Just to let you know, you got to work on your back also. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to work one more. I'm going to finish this row out, and then I'm going to stop this to show you how to set in your neck. Look, see, all my loops fell off, so it'll be so easy. I just pick them back up. I threw it down. I didn't lay it down because I was trying to, All right, so what I will come back, and then we will be ready to set in our neck. You will need some markers. All right, take care, and now you get to decide whether you can do 4 lace rows. Like I said, I'm so short, I'm sure a lot of you can do 5. But it's up to you. Back in a minute. All right, so I'm back, and you have been working off camera, and I've worked on my little sample. Remember, we're just pretending. So now we need to set in our neck. And you were supposed to decide on how many of these little these little yarn over rows you needed or could fit into your sweater. I'm short, but I was able to fit in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 4 on the original. And so, if you're taller, you could do 5. You could do 6. It just depends on, you have to hold it up to your body from where your arms and things under your arm, and how much room you have to put how many of these pretty little yarn over rows. Then after you finish that and you decided, okay, Jay, I'm going to do 5. All right, and you had 5. I had only 4. because I'm short. All right, so but you had however many you want. Then you, of course, had to knit 2 rows, because that's what after doing this row and knitting back, then you have to knit 2 rows. Well, since we're ending this front and putting in our neck, I want you to knit, just keep knitting back and forth until you have 4 garter ridges. You know, we're counting garter ridges now. This is the garter stitch, and it's a lot easier to use this as a place to count. So right here, I have knit back and forth till I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 garter ridges. So now we want to divide up this long front into a shoulder, a neck, and a shoulder. So that makes sense. So I'm just going to give you some numbers I think will help. If you are small and to medium or whatever, if you would count in 38 stitches. Now, we already know we have 4 over here, so don't worry about those 4. But go to the marker right here and just count in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and count all the way until you get to 38 stitches. And then I put a marker right there. I put one of these little markers to let me know right here, this is 38 stitches. Does that make sense? Then slide the work over. Always when you're counting, start from an edge that we know is correct. So I know this edge of the sweater is correct on this side. So I'd go, you don't have to worry about the 4. We know they're there, and we're going to drop this mark in a minute. But starting at this marker, count in the same number, 38, 2, 4, 6, and count over, and I put a marker there. Now, take a look at this neck section. This is the neck right there. The main thing, or the most important thing, as I've said before, in my sweater world, is to get the right and left side or the 2 fronts equal. Whatever is the neck is just the neck, because we're going to get ready to bind it off. But you can look at it. Now, this neck doesn't need to be really long or wide. Or, of course, if it's too small, then you've got to move some of the mark. If you feel like it's too small, you know, for some reason yours doesn't look like mine and you need to move it back, only go back like 2 stitches. Go back 2 stitches on this side, and you can go back 2 stitches on this side if you need to. But I suggest 38, because we are getting ready to go over to separate each front, and we're going to work at least 2 to 3 inches going this direction, going up, and that's going to be plenty to put your head in. All right, now, if you are on my size, I'm the one in the middle, you know, large to 1X or so. I counted in 40 stitches because I have more stitches than this person. This is like the small size or medium or something, I don't know. It's not my, my true size. On my true size, I counted over 40 stitches. Does that make sense? I'm trying to get this in on the camera. This is the original sweater, the real sweater. Okay, so I counted in 40. All right, and then I went to the other side and counted 40 and put my little mark. You see, I still have some of my little marks there. All right. Now, if you are in the larger sizes, the 2 to 3X and above, I suggest you count in 42. So it doesn't take that many. So you'd count in 42 from the marker and mark it. Count in from the opposite side. You'd count in 42 from this side. Whatever's in the neck is the neck. I'll show you if the neck, in a little bit, if we think the neck is too large, there will be a time when we can still decrease it. But you don't want to start out and have your neck too small or too tight, because this is supposed to be a very, just kind of relaxed sweater. But you can hold this up to your neck and you say, well, like I said, it's not really, it's supposed to go beyond your neck a little bit. It's beyond, your neck may be right there. So it's like a couple of inches over. But, all right, so 38 or 40 or 42. So now let me tell you the next step. All right, so now you're going to knit another row, one more row. We're on the right side. Well, I need, in order for us to bind off, I want you to bind off on the wrong side. So I'm going to knit all the way across this row now. I have 4 garter ridges, but I'm going to knit all the way across, and then when I turn the work, we will be on the wrong side and ready to knit up to where we need to bind off. Yes, we're going to bind off on the wrong side. I know most always bind off on the right side, but I hate that ugly little line it formed. It just looks, I don't know. So, Jay, start being a rebel. I'm binding off on the wrong side, and I think it looks so much nicer. I think it just looks so much better. Here's my real sweater in real time. There's my bound off edge. And that little funny line that you normally get if you bind off on the front, to me, I think it looks better on the back side, on the wrong side. So, that's where we are. That's what I need you to do. Work across once you put your markers in. And if you want to experiment and move your markers around, but small and medium, 38, large and 1X, maybe 40, that's me. And then larger sizes, at least 42. All right, I'm going to knit across, and I'll see you on the back side, and we're going to bind off. Well, are you excited? Well, I am. It's the midnight hour. Yes. And Jay's all ready to go. Wake up, sleepyheads. Jay, I got to go to work in the morning. You don't have to go. Okay. Sorry. Well, I was busy. I got some washing done and ran to the grocery store. I think tomorrow I'm going to cook a lasagna, so I wanted to go ahead and get everything. Today it's really pretty. Got beautiful weather. So, alright, so here we are on the back side of our sweater. We have the neck marked. I've already given you some numbers for the shoulders, so everyone should be ready to bind off the neck. And I'm going to show you a little something when we start binding off, how to give the neck just a nice little tapered, I don't know, just a nice shape. So here we go. Don't forget, we are still knitting, even on the wrong side. All this top part is worked in garter stitch. That's where you knit every row. So I'm working over to my marker. That's the thing I want to work over to. Okay, let's see. Let me make sure I'm in the right one. All right, going over. And let me look and see. I can count. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay. All right, so now I'm over to my mark. I just want to make sure before we start. I don't want to mess up and have to take it out. Start over. Okay. All right, in order to bind off, okay, now this is the shoulder. So now these start the neck. These are the neck stitches. This is where we're going to bind off from this stitch all the way over. So I have to knit 2 stitches out of the neck section. So I knit 1, not that one now. Then I knit another stitch. And I just reach back, I lift the stitch over, of course, and bind off. Now, keep it loose. I like to pull as I go. Now, I reach. I'm going to show you this. I go ahead and knit another stitch. I reach back and I bind off. And I pull it to keep it loose. Now, right here, say in the next stitch, I'm going to knit 2 stitches together, just like that. We're binding off, but I'm going to knit 2 stitches together right there. Now I reach back and bind. Just reach back, pull the stitch over, and bind off. Kind of pull it so that it stays nice and loose. I'm sorry, I put my hand all in the way, but we'll see it again on the other end. Now all I have to do is continue to bind off till we get to the other side, and we're going to do that same little knit 2 together, and it's going to give our neckline a soft, just soften it up. You'll see. It's hard to explain to you. Look till you see it. But make sure that you keep your bind off. Now see, there's that funny little edge that I just don't like it on the front. As much as possible. So I mainly bind off on the wrong side when I bind off, if possible. And sometimes you just depend on the pattern, I guess. Okay, so I'm working my way across. I'm going to stay on camera for this because I don't have that many stitches, and neither should you. Alright, we're working across. We're binding off. Pulling it, staying loose. Keep your yarn loose. See? Lift and bind off, and I pull up on that yarn. We are working across. Just like that. I'm getting excited because we're separating the two fronts. That means there's light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, now I'm looking ahead and I see the next marker and I see how many stitches I have left. So I'm going to go ahead and reach over here and I'll bind off one more maybe. Let's see. I bind off one more, then I'm going to, on this end, I'm going to knit two together just like I did on this end. Do it on the ends, not in the middle. Knit two together, then loosen it up, then reach back and bind off. Keep it loose, and then continue to just bind off across till we get to the last, to the marker. Okay, now now watch. This is still the neck stitch right here. See that last stitch for new knitters. You still have that one stitch, so we have to go ahead and borrow this stitch that belongs to the shoulder, but we need to knit it and then reach and bind off that last stitch of the neck. Voila. Oops. Now all the neck stitches are bound off. And now I'm going to just continue to knit across the row. Let's see how it looks first. I want to just pull it up because I want to go ahead and just knit across this row real quick. Let's see how fast I can do it. I think that's far enough so I can turn. Well, let me see how many. Oh, I don't have that much more. Hey, it's 12 o'clock. We've come this far. We may as well continue. So we're just kind of, if I get to the end, then we can just talk a minute and look at what we've done. Okay, I slide the marker. And see, I think I've already taken this marker off. Yeah, we can just take the markers off now. We don't need to worry about the border because everything is just straight garter stitch now. So we can just get rid of that marker. Okay, voila. Now let me turn the work. Look. All right, I want you to just look at it for a minute. Now, this size is smaller than my size, but look at the neck. I'm going to pull it closer. look at the back and that funny little, see that little line that you always get? Okay, this is, to me, is a lot prettier. And by us decreasing, not taking more stitches from the shoulders, but actually knitting two together in the bind off of the neck, binding off, knitting two together on this end, it gives it, it softens. It's not like, you know, it's just nice and soft, and it looks really pretty. What do you think of that? All right, so now let me tell you the next step real quick, and then we can go off camera and do that. So now I'm over here, I'm on the right side. So now we're going to be working one side of our front. So it makes sense to work on this side because here's the yarn. This is when you're going to grab, let's see, where's my needles? This is when you're going to, I left one needle somewhere. This is when you're going to take your straight needles out. See? It's not like, you don't have to worry about this. This is not like the, you know, the one where you have to straighten the cable out. It's just your regular straight needle. Now all we're going to do is pop this needle in like that. Let me bring it down. Pop this one in and start to knit the stitches. They are awkward if you haven't, I don't work with them that often, straight needles anymore. Now you could use another, a shorter circular needle, but I was just trying to make it easy for those who didn't have a lot of equipment, a lot of needles. But it is strange working with. Look how they're, look, I feel odd. So I'm just going to knit since we've gone this far. And we're separating the front, so I get real excited. Okay. Well, I guess you say, well, Jay, what do you got coming up next? What are we going to be doing? Well, we're going to finish this sweater, of course, and then I will, you know, we will, I don't know, sometimes during the summer or, you know, before too late in the fall, we will take the same sweater, the same numbers and things, but we'll put something really, really pretty, a really pretty exquisite lace. We'll do something really nice now that you have the basic sweater down and you have some numbers for your size, your body. You know how to do easy count. I'm showing you how to soften the neckline. And now we are just going to, let me just get over here. Okay. Voila! All. See why you need a long one? See, now this is one shoulder and one sleeve and cuff. This is all contained on this one side. Look, needle. Here's the cuff for the sleeve. Here's the little sleeve we added. And all of this is the shoulder on this side of the sweater. Does that make sense? Of course, now this is a sample. If you let me show it on the real one. Because you can see this is, I didn't do all the, you know, the whole lot of lace. But here it is, here. And let me see if I'm on or if I need it back. But I think you can see that. I'm trying to learn not to move the camera so much. Okay, so here is, see, I have this on the needle. There it is right there. Now we'll start working. You see how we have to work up now. You see the neck? Let me put it over. Let's see which way do I need to go? This way. Okay, so here's the neck. So now as we start to work one side, back and forth, just knitting every row. And we're going to do that. You can start measuring with your measuring tape as you get close to your number. 7, 6, 7, 8. I use 8, 9, whatever it is that you need to And you need to put, you need to just kind of pull your sleeve a little bit just to make sure you measure it right. But this is what we're going to start working on in just a minute. Oh, isn't that pretty? All right, so everyone's on one page now. We've softened our neck. We've bound off the front. I'm going to take, and you can take a rubber band or some kind of these little things, grips that I cut in half that the kids use from the Dollar Tree, and just get these out of the way so they're not flopping around. Okay, that side will wait while we work on this side, working up. And all you have to do now is just turn the work. And I got another needle over here somewhere. I don't know what I do with all my needles. They're supposed to stay in my case. Start here. We're not decreasing or doing anything else. We're just going to knit straight up. Just like this. Every row, we just simply knit. Like I said, it feels so awkward knitting with these needles. But you'll be glad when we get ready to bind off to have the long needles. It just makes it nice and easy to bind off. Okay, as you see, I start knitting across. All right, do that much. I will come back as I knit on up for at least, I'm going to go up about 2 inches. I'll come back, we'll stop, we'll start counting and measuring and just take a look at what we have. And then, of course, we have to connect on this side. All right, so get your straight needles out and I'll be back. All right, so on my sample, I have just knitted some just to pretend. Now we're pretending. But as you start knitting back and forth on this one side, we're not decreasing anything on the neck. This is going to be the edge. I'm not adding another edge or picking up. I'm going to let it be. And as you can see, I'm just knitting back and forth. All up. This is when you take your tape measure now and you start kind of watching to see how close you're getting to your number for your sleeve, your number in inches. So, for small people with small arms, and really, because remember, this sleeve comes right above the elbow. It's not up here at the shoulder. It's right here. So you don't need as wide as you would need at the shoulders. I would need a lot more or more width. But since it's down here, so maybe small, I'd said about 6 inches. Medium, 7 inches. I represent the large, so I'm doing 8 inches. And then if you're the larger sizes, you just move up to 9 inches. And you just, see how it works. But this is when you start trying to check or measure as you're knitting up. So I would have to just continue to keep knitting up as watching my tape. Let me go to the real one, because this is just a sample and I don't have the same amount of stitches. But say like on this side. Okay. I would just keep working and working until I see that I'm close to or right at, and you're going to go over, you may have to go over the measurement, just a little bit by 1 or 2 rows, because, see, now there's my 8 inches. And I had to go over maybe one row or 2 rows, because why? When we get ready to stop, our needles have to be pointing away from the neck. It has to be pointing in this direction here for us, so that I can meet up with the back to do the 3 needle bind off. So as I'm measuring and as I'm knitting up to finish up this sleeve and this side of the front, if I need to go over my 8 inches by a little bit, 1 or 2 rows, to make sure that my needle is pointing in the right direction here, pointing towards the sleeve end, because I'm going to match it up to the back when we get ready to do the 3 needle bind off. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what you are doing as you're knitting up now. All right, so now real quick, I just take some more yarn. And I come on this side This is just to help new knitters. Sometimes they forget. I can't remember, Jay, how to put the yarn, how to do the yarn on the opposite side. Make sure I'm on camera first. Okay, there I am. Okay, so this is what you do. Get another ball of yarn, or if you're done doing this side, leave a little yarn, and then just stop the yarn. Here we go. All right, so I come here. Remember the back, this side is still on a double pointed needle, so we'll just slide the point down, slide it down like this. It's going to hit the tripod. Let me see. Okay, there. Okay. And then you slide your stitches up to this point. We got to put it on a straight needle, get it off this circular needle. So I take my yarn, I leave a nice little tail, just in case if for some reason I have to close up a little hole or something. Just put it over the needle and, and then you just start knitting. Now I knit with the tail and the working yarn for 1 or 2 stitches, just like this. I'm knitting and I pull it tight. Then I maybe knit 1 more stitch with both strands. Then I can drop the tail. Just drop the tail. Now I'm just using the working yarn all by itself. Now I'm just going to knit over. Let's see, can I push these up? Okay. Now I'm just going to knit all the way across. No purling, we're just knitting every row. I think there we go. And I just knit onto my straight needle so I can get rid of these circular needles. Those are the needles hitting because they're so long, they're hitting the counter. Okay. Oh, it's looking mighty good. So if I get this done before I go to bed, then tomorrow, all I have to do is just make sure the back, we look at the back again, make sure that it matches up with the front. We have to bind off the neck on the back and then do some sewing. See, I'm just knitting all the stitches. Don't have to worry about doing the purl stitch. Alright, I get to the end and look, voila! Now my circular needles are free and out of the way. Put those over there. Now I will continue to work on these straight needles to match each side up, each front, however many garter ridges I did, or you can come over here and count this side. Easy count. Find something to count as you start working up the front on this side. And of course, when you finish, this needle has to point in this direction. If you have to go an extra little row, that's okay. I'm telling you what's important. This needle has to be pointing in this direction. And then, of course, please don't forget to, please use your caps. Please learn to use your caps. Yeah, I have to even remind myself. But they're inexpensive, or you can you can think of something else, but please put your caps on while you're waiting from one side to the other. So then I start working back and forth on this side, and whatever your number in inches, and or some easy count so that you come out with the same. And as you can see, my needles are pointing in the opposite direction. So now tomorrow, all we have to do, like I said, is we'll pull out the back. Let me just check my camera, see what's, I got it. We have a nice neck. And so I'll leave this on the counter for tonight, so I'll know that I'm on the back for tomorrow. and then we'll talk about it. Well, we've got a lot done today. I am so thrilled for you. I mean, nobody seems to be out of sort. Everybody's just working along and you're humming. Simple sweater. I wanted to get the idea of the sweater. Now, just because we put this little simple lace, that has nothing to do with the sweater. Now we can change up the sweater. Now you have some numbers to work with. And like I say, sometimes I'll remember how I said, well, take this to the copier. I'd just take this part and lay maybe this sleeve on the copier. Hit print, black and white. Then I'd write down some of my numbers, things that I need to remember about this particular sweater for my body, for my numbers. How many did I have across the shoulders? Because when we use the pattern again, it's going to be the same numbers, people. It's going to be the same. We're going to use the same. I will use the same number, same needles, same everything, just putting in a different lace or a different design. Well, it's that time. I'm going to say good night, and I will see you tomorrow. Sweet dreams. Dream of knitting and crocheting. Okay, I gotta go now. Bye. So I'm back with, this is the back section. We have worked our front. Our needles are pointed in the right direction. They have the caps on them. So the front is waiting for the back, for us to finish our back. And so we stayed in stockinette just to make the back simple. You know, there's a lot of knitting in this, and we didn't, you know, I want to help you to the finish line. And sometimes when it just seems overwhelming, so I just kept the back very simple. But I did, like I say, at maybe the last couple inches or 3 inches, I have no idea. It was just wherever I thought it would, like about 2 inches I had to go before I reached my sleeve length. I represent the one in the middle, so I'm doing 8 inches, at least 8 inches. Now, you can do the 8 inches, but now that you have the front done, you can easily count how many ridges you have on the front. You know, I do what I call easy count. You can count your front section and then just do the same number of ridges for your back section, or like I say, just measure. So I'm pretty pleased with my back, and I've already done the 3 needle bind off on one side, and I went ahead and I have this side ready to demonstrate. But before we can demonstrate that, because we always have new knitters or knitters that are trying to, improve their skills, and you get right to this point and go, Jay, I can't remember how do I get the neck? How do I do the back neck? How do I get it off the needles? Okay, so let me show you real quick how we're going to do the bind off for this back neck edge right there to match the front, and then we'll come back and do the 3 needle bind off. All right, putting the back and front together. So now here I go. Here is I had to just knit up a little sample, so we have to pretend now. This is a sample of the back neck. Let me see. Let me make sure I get it on. Make sure I'm on camera. Get it on. See if you can see enough of it. Then I'll pull in a little bit later. Okay. So now, of course, the first thing you have to do is, and of course, this back. Now, this is the whole back. This is just a little section. This is the pretend. Now, I'm up at the neckline, and I want to show you how to bind it off. But when you decide on how far up you're going with the back, and you finish, then when you finish and then do the last right side row, I need you to go to a wrong side row. I need you to be on the wrong side, just like we bound off on the front. So you continue to knit back and forth, however many inches or however many little garter ridges on the sleeve, so that it comes up or it's close to your front, or you get it to match up with your front. Now on the front, we had a certain amount of stitches for the sleeve, the shoulder, you know, and so we went ahead and we went mark those so that we would know, you know, how many stitches for this side, then the neck, whatever is left is going to be your neck, which is what I'm going to show you how to bind off next, and then the opposite shoulder. Does that make sense? Because when we do the 3-needle bind off, these shoulders, the needles are pointing in the right direction, and the shoulder stitches have to match up. That is 101. You have to have these stitches matched up so that we can bind them off, and you'll see how pretty that seam, it makes such a pretty seam. Alright, so here I go. So you're on the back, you got it up to where you want, you have matched up, and you put some markers so that this shoulder matches the front section over here, and then here's a marker, whatever's left. And this is just a little sample, whatever's left becomes the neck. So we're just going to we're binding off. We will bind off the back neck on the wrong side, just like we did the front. Now I could have maybe knit on over here. I could have been already over. Jay, where was your brain? Well, we're about to have a storm is coming, but the worst weather is going to be south, in South Georgia. But we will get some spin-off rain, and really the sky got real dark there for a little bit. And I thought, let me jump over here on the camera. Yeah, let me do it let me do it during a storm. But so far it hadn't started. Just real dark skies. So I'll just knit right over. So this is on the wrong side. I am knitting on the wrong side, and I see that I'm coming up to my neck. And let me just check my camera. This section. Okay. Now, I knit up to my marker. I have placed markers. You know, maybe a couple of rows back. You can do it a few rows back if you want to. Put in some markers after you count your stitches, and it's the same number that's on the front of the sweater. And then put your little marker so you'll know that these are the neck stitches right here. All right, so I come up, and of course, you can drop this marker because it's going to fall off if you don't. But now I have to start binding off these stitches, so I have to knit 2 stitches out of the neck. This is the shoulder. Don't get it confused. So I knit 1 stitch, then I knit 2. And I reach back and I bind off 1 stitch by lifting that, just lift it over. Oops. This yarn was splitting. Okay, there we go. Just lift it over that stitch. I give it a little pull so that it's not tight. Alright, go ahead and knit the next stitch. Reach down and bind off. Does that make sense? Are you with me? Okay, now do you remember on the front, when we bound off the front, I did a little decrease on the bind off just to give the little neck its own shaping. So we're going to do that again here on the back. So on the next stitch, I'm just going to knit 2 stitches together. Just put my needle in, knit those 2 stitches. Now I still have to reach back and bind off. So now I've given the neck, I pulled it in just a little bit, and it's going to give it a nice little shape. Now I continue to bind off and try to do it real loose. Just, and tug at it a little bit as you go. I always knit and then bind off the next stitch, and then I give a little tug. And you just continue across, and we are on the back. Remember why I had you to buy 2 circular needles, so that you could automatically have the back on the circular needle and while you're working on the front, and it just saves so much time. You're going to get used to this method. You're going to go, Jay, it makes so much more sense. Just go and cast on both front and back, and then, like I say, you can work the back anytime. And I think I've already seen another design that I want to put in this one. This style sweater. Oh my gosh. I know I may be running behind for this month, but I'm telling you, I've got some new things that I want to share with you. More stitches. Alright, so now I see that I'm still working over towards the next marker, binding off this neck. You knit, reach back, and lightly, loosely, oops, but now I really dropped it. Let me pick it back up. Loosely pull that stitch over, the first one, bind off. Let's go. Now I'm just looking ahead to see about how many. I didn't try to calculate and do a lot of math. You know, sometimes all you need is just a little common sense. Okay, so I see right here, here's 2 stitches. Why don't I knit those 2 together? Because I'm close to the mark, I'm close enough. I knit those 2, reach back, and bind off. Now I continue to just bind off. So that I have there you go. But remember, new knitters, this stitch belongs to the neck. So you're not done. We'll take this marker off. Now I'm going to bar this stitch right there to bind off this last stitch of the neck. This is still the neck. Here's the shoulder. I'm just going to bar that stitch, knit it, reach back, and bind off. Okay, the neck is done. Now I will just continue to knit across, all the way across. Here we go. Oh, wow. Get me a little more yarn. See, I'm just knitting now across. Yes, I am on the wrong side, but I am knitting because I am doing, this is the garter stitch. This is just knitting every row to kind of end our sweater. And then when I get ready to do the 3 needle bind off, I thought it would just look nicer to have garter stitch meeting garter stitch when I bind off. You don't have to, but now watch. Okay, so that's the wrong side, and there's that little funny line that I just don't like to put on the front. See, if you're a knitter, you understand what I'm talking about. So when I turn the work to the front, here's the back, but it's the front of the fabric. Here's my back neck, and it gives just a nice little softness. It's not just like a, really harsh lines, because we decrease 1 stitch on each side. What do you think of that? Now the magic of this, because I'm trying to get you to work with these circular needles. Remember the front, it's important to have the needles pointing in these, opposite directions. Well, guess what? If you do it my system, the back is already on a circular needle. There's a point on each end. You don't have to worry about changing or transferring the stitches to that long straight needle. You can, but once we start the bind off, we just pull the stitches up, match it up to the front, and we'll do the 3 needle bind off. Then once we're through with the yarn on one side, we cut it, come over here, push these stitches up to this edge, and we will match this up with the front on this side with all the stitches and do the 3 needle bind off. Isn't that simple? See? So now my back can just wait till I'm ready to put the 2 shoulders, the sleeves, and the cuff together. But my neck on the front and on the back are done. Does that make sense? Does that help you? Alright, so the next thing, of course, is the 3 needle bind off. Alright, so we are ready to start our 3 needle bind off. And just to kind of recap, because like I said, we always have new knitters or people that are transitioning from crochet to knitting, or people that just want to, improve their knitting skills. You know, I started out knitting dishcloths and afghans, but I always had a desire to knit sweaters. So here I am. All right, so we're up to the 3-needle bind off, which is what we're going to join the back of the sweater. Well, this is the back, and the front of the sweater, and we're joining them we're going to join it at the shoulders. Number 1 in the 3-needle bind off, you need to turn the sweater inside out, or the pieces in, so that the front of the fabric is matching the front of the fabric of the back. So 2 fronts are facing each other, just like when you're sewing a seam on a sewing machine. So that's number 1. Things that we need to, help you to remember. The next thing is, of course, as you can see, my needles are pointing in this direction. I always end, even if you have to knit a row or 2 extra, going over your numbers, it doesn't matter. Make sure your needles are pointing this direction. At the sleeve edge, not at the neck edge. Here's the neck. Here's the sleeve. All right, next thing, count your stitches. You want to have the same number here to bind off on this needle. And just say at the end you realize, oh, I think I had 1 too many. Well, you can knit 2 together. It's just yarn, people. Or if you need to make 1, we can knit into the front or the back. But as long as you have, you got as close as you can. Listen, knit happens. Even to the best of us. So here we go. All right, I'm going to get ready. I have some leftover yarn, the same yarn. I just balled it up. This is a great way to save those small balls of yarn. We use it to do a little sewing or doing the 3-needle bind off. The next thing you will need is another needle so that we can bind off. These 2 hold the stitches, but I need 1 to actually do the work, the working needle. Now, a lot of times I use these little bamboos, little double points. You can use that or whatever you have. Here's a metal one. Doesn't matter. It's just easy to work with without working with another long needle. Does that make sense? All right, so, and then I have my needles capped, so you definitely don't want to lose your stitches. So let's start. All right, now, the first thing I want to do is to bring the stitches, make sure I am on camera here, that you can really see what I'm doing. All right, we've done this several times, but I always want to encourage, give encouragement to those who are still trying. And I don't want you to struggle, because this is supposed to be relaxing and fun. All right, so first thing I do, I take the working needle. This is the one that's separate. These are the ones holding the stitches. And we're going to knit by putting the needle into this stitch on the first, just separate here. Let me just get it in there. Make sure I'm not, look like I'm splitting the yarn. I don't know why. Okay, so, and then I put it into this stitch on the back needle, just like that. Now I'm going to take my working yarn. This is the yarn off the ball. Leave a nice long tail like that. Loop it over my finger. Now put that loop over this needle. And I'm just going to pull it through, just like you're making a regular knit stitch. Then I'm going to take these 2 stitches off each needle, just like that. Now at first, everything's going to be slipping and sliding. You just tug and just kind of hold on to things best you can. A lot of times I'll grab this working yarn in the tail. All right, now in order to do a bind off, we have to have 2 stitches. So I go again into this stitch, then into this one. I take the yarn, I come over. Now I'm really holding both of them, and then I slide those 2 stitches off the needle. It's going to be awkward at first, and it's awkward when you're trying to demonstrate this. Now I'm tightening up everything. Now before I can go any further, we got to take one of these needles and we have to reach back, take the first stitch, bring it over. Believe me, you will get this, and it does have a rhythm. over the first stitch was over the second stitch. So now we've bound off one stitch. Alright, now we got a long way to go. So take your time, go into that stitch, make sure bring it through. Now mine looks thick because I'm holding that little tail, but I'll drop it in just a minute. Now I have to reach back, take one of these needles, reach back, grab that first stitch, bring it over. Now I've got mine real tight, but I'm going to see if I can loosen it up a little bit. Ooh, I really pulled it tight. Hold on. Okay. Bring it off. Now I'm going to drop that tail because I'm having, so it's really thick. Now I've got the working yarn nice and clear. Here's the working yarn. Alright, let's go. Now we'll start to move a little bit. Get through the first one and then two right there. Make sure you got the working yarn. Yarn around the needle. Now bring it through. Take those two stitches off right away. Now reach back with one of these needles. Loosen up. I just had mine real tight for some reason. I don't know where I got that from. And bind off. Pull it. Let's go again. Go through this one. Go in that loop. Take the working yarn, go around the needle, pull it through, pull those stitches off, reach back and lift this loop over the first loop and bind off. I got a little straggle yarn there, but I'll take care of it. In, around pull it through, take those two stitches off, reach back, bind off. Now I'm going to get rid of that little piece. I'm going to do that. Okay. Here and here. Boy, I was struggling, wasn't I? Okay. Now I'm going to tug at this a little bit just to loosen it up. I had a lot of tails. I don't know why I had so many tails going on. Alright, but make sure I have the working yarn. You don't want to pick up a tail and start working. Now, around, pull those two stitches off. Now I never have this problem when I'm just sitting by myself just doing it. And you can see, once you master this, it makes the prettiest seam. I just think it's really pretty. Then, even sewing. In one, make sure you go through both in that loop, then the yarn around the needle, pull the loop through, now pull those stitches off, but now don't forget to go back and bind off. Stop every once in a while and I give a tug on the seam. Now, it was all jumbled and mumbled up and you thought, Jay, that looks hard, but once you see how pretty it is, now look. I'm going to bring it up to the camera. I don't know where the camera is. Alright, let's go. Even if you make a mistake, you're on the wrong side. Pull it through. Be sure to take those stitches off. Then reach back. Take your time. It's slippery. And bind off. Pull it through. Pull that loop through. Now take those stitches off, reach back with one of the needles and bind off. It's a lot of working parts and all of them have to work together. This needle has to work with this one, this hand has to work with this one, this needle has to work with all your hands and the needles. Oop, don't drop a stitch, Jay. Okay. Alright, so in that loop there, in this one. Now, Jay, that wasn't encouragement. That was going to make someone go, oh, I don't know if I can do it. Yeah, you can. If I can teach myself, believe me. All the things I had to pull out and redo, reach back and bind off, teaching myself doing it one stitch at a time. You know, I didn't have anybody to help. I didn't have any friends or people, and my friends that, you know, that I would try to maybe share it with or get them interested. They go, well, why you want to do that? Well, you're going to make something. It's fun. It's something to know. I don't know. It's just something to learn. Well, why you want to do that? All I can say is, look at me now. I'm on YouTube with my friends, and we're just, look, trying not to make a mess of this. Pull those stitches off, and reach back and bind off. If you drop it, grab that stitch right quick. I was dropping, see, I got too excited. Okay, now I got to find that stitch. Oh, there it is. Okay, if you make a little mistake, just take your time. I'm going to grab that stitch back, put it back on. It's on the back needle. Now I'm going to have to reach back and bind off that stitch. I just dropped the bind off stitch. Okay. Pull on the working yarn and let's continue. And you're pushing up the stitches as you go, taking them 1, 2 at a time, just like this. 1, 2. I tell you, another thing that's making this awkward, because I'm not used to doing it on these long needles, and they're just like they're like a handicap. Look at I don't know where to put them. Okay, keep going, Jay. Keep going. Okay, I won't go all the way to the end because we got to sew. We got to get over to the sewing. This video is going to be long enough. In fact, I probably won't even get on this one. All right, so let me pull up a loop because I'm going to stop. And the proof is in the pudding, as they say. When you turn, look at that. When you turn, now I'm going to bring it up to the camera. Now I have tails that weave in on this side, on this end. But look at that. Is that pretty? Even a non-professional person like me, if I can do it, you can do it. All right, now I'm going to pull all of that up, and I'm going to leave that long loop. And then off camera, I'm going to finish this because we need to sew. So I'm going to finish up. You've got to do both shoulders, and then I will join you back, and we will turn it right side. I sew on the right side, so I want to make sure you know how to do that. So we'll continue that, but I'll be back in just a little bit. Well, I see the finish line in sight. We are up to sewing our front and our back together. And unlike the 3-needle bind off, which we do on the wrong side, on the sewing, on my knitting, I do on the right side. So make sure your sweater is all matched up and you've got everything just right. You're ready now to start sewing. Now, we're going to start sewing at the sleeve edge, and I'll show you why. But as you can see, I have sewn up. Let's see if I'm showing up at all on this camera. Yeah, I think you can see it. All right, I have sewn the sleeves, and now I come down to the body of the sweater. And what's so nice about the little having that little border, that little garter ridge border, you see I can match up those lines, you know, the garter ridges going across. Or if you didn't put the ridge, but yet you have the little bumps, you can match those up. But as you can see, it makes a nice little, like an insert. And I can just match those lines up as I come down. And I've already sewn up this side, and you can see how nice and flat it is. Because we're not going to like whip or stitch anything. We're going to work back and forth in little small stitches on the front side of the fabric. Now, like I said, I've sewn, started at the sleeve, and I'm going to demonstrate in just a minute. And I come down, and then I start matching up these garter ridges, this side with that side, back and forth. Now, you can decide as you get towards the bottom if you'd like a hip split. I was thinking I might leave a hip split on this. That's just in other words, you don't have to sew all the way to the very bottom edge here and line that up like we normally do our, more dress sweaters. This was supposed to be something, even though it's white, it's just summery, it's just nice, it's just relaxing. Put it over your jeans, put it over your capri pants, just something that you just kind of want to go somewhere and you just need something real light. Now, here's a split here that I was thinking about leaving, and you can see I've sewn down a little bit, but I can pull this yarn out because I'm working back and forth. I'm not knotting up anything. Now that's about a good little over 2 inches. You could go 3 inches, depending on how tall you are. I'm very short, so I don't need very much. And see, we already have the border, so we don't have to go back and add anything to finish this split up if I want to stop here. So if I wanted to stop there, I would just simply put the yarn back in the needle, and then I'm going to work. I call it just working back and forth. It's like I'm just going to stop it. So I could just work back and forth like this a couple of times, and then take the yarn to the back of the work. Oops. See, can you see that? All I'm doing is just kind of making sure that this split will stop right here, and then I can take my needle and go in and bring the yarn on the wrong side. Now you can't see that any stitches or anything, but yet I have a nice little 2-inch split or 2.5, and then I can weave in my yarn on the back side. Just weave it in. I just run it up about 2, depending on how much tail that I had left, 2-3 inches like that. Just kind of run it right up the little seam, and then I turn around and run it back down. That's usually how most of us knitters do. We just turn it and run it back down for an inch or so, and then you can whack it off. You can cut it off. All right. So I just want to show you that so you'll have that in mind, or you can decide. And so now I have a nice little split, hip split, just for a little extra room. All right, so now I'm going to the side that we're going to work on. We're just going to do a few stitches just to remind you. Now I try to demonstrate it on all my sweaters, but I thought I'd do it again. And now I had a long piece left anyway, so I'm going to turn my sweater around. Let me see, wait a minute, let me make sure I've got everything. Yes. All right, so here I go. I'm going to turn my sweater kind of on the side here so that I can see where, well, I guess I'm going to have to go, oops, I guess I'm going to have to go this way so that you can see it. All right, so now here's the front of the sweater. Here's the back. Yeah, I don't hope it's not so jumbled up. Let me just take a look in the camera. Let's see if it's too jumbled up, if I'm in the right place on the camera, so that you can see this. I'm going to pull in just a little bit. All right, so here is all right, I think this is it. Okay. So now here is my sweater. This is just a tail that I'm going to use. I've got the yarn All right, now does this make sense? Here's the cuff, here's the sleeve. Here's where I need to match up these two ends, and they need to really match up nice. So I'm going to take my needle. It's already connected. This was leftover tail of when I stopped working. I left a long tail. Or you just take another piece of yarn, thread it through your needle. Now watch, you can, if you come up from the bottom, like that, then go across. Try to get right on the very edge of the very last little stitch. Go across. Now come back up. Now I have secured those two edges of the sweater together. Now I'm going to work back and forth, back and forth. And on this one, this has that little funny place where we cast on those stitches for the sleeve. Well, just kind of smooth it out with your fingers. I'm going across. I came up on this side, and I'm going across, and I'm going to stay close to this edge as possible. I don't want to pick up those stitches, but right next to those stitches. And I'm going to pull slightly. Don't pull too tight yet. Then I cross back over. Let me just check. Make sure I'm up enough. Then I cross back over on this side, and I get right next to that little edge. Don't get on the edge, get right next to it. Then I go on this side, I get right next to the edge, and I pick up just a small stitch. Then I come back on this side, pick up. And then you can start to pull to see it come in, but pick up on this side. I just cross back and forth. Everything is flat. You're not going to have a funny seam on the wrong side, but you're going to have this beautiful seam on the right side. Now let's just keep going. Over, and then here. I just like to take small stitches. Sometimes I get in a rush and I'll start taking long stitches because I want to get through. But it doesn't seem to look quite as nice if you keep your little stitches small. Okay, I can see that I'm coming up to where those two garter ridge sections, borders, will match up, but I'm going to stay right here, taking my time. Crossing back over, I'm working on the right side of the sweater, putting two right sides just like this. All right, now I'm going to reach over here, and then here. Don't get too, I was getting too large. There we go, back a little bit. All right, just kind of roll that up, just flatten that little rolly edge down a little bit with your finger and your thumb, enough to get some stitches right next to it. And then that little rolled edge will just kind of be, it will be pulled into the seam. All right, so now I'm going to kind of turn it this way a little bit. It's kind of maybe hard to see on this white, but I'm going to keep going. Now I'm going to start to try to match up these garter stitch ridges. I see one ridge there, and I see that it seems like this side was a little longer. Well, it didn't, so I'm going to just come back, take another stitch there to draw that up. Now there's a garter ridge. I'm going to start matching up. I'm going to go into this garter ridge, that little bump on the end, or that little place on the end of the garter ridge stitch. Go in. All right, now find the one on this side. Here it is right there. Pull that. Here's the next one. See the next garter ridge right there. Here's that little bump on the end, or the little end place. Go there. Now go find the next one right here on this side. Go into that one. Here's the next one on this side. I'm going into that little bump on the end. And then on this one, there's a little bump or little knot looking part of the stitch. And voila. I'm working my way down now. And if I see that I for some reason had a knot, had a little small opening, then I would just come back. People, it happens. Sometimes you do perfect, and then like the other side was perfect. Maybe this side I was too tight, too loose on my sewing. It just depends. Okay. But that's just something that you just take care of. So I go on this side, I find the garter ridge. Okay. Okay, now I go down here. I go over to this one. Come over here to this one. Back and just cross over, matching up those little garter ridge stitches from side to side. And then, like I said, and if you do, like I said, my other side was perfect. I think I might touch up that little space. But there's a sleeve, and as you start working down, then you can decide if you want to sew all the way to the very bottom. Make sure these bottoms match up really well. There's a little extra tail, but make sure they match up really nice. Or you can leave a couple of inches, 3 inches, whatever it is. If you're tall, 4 inches, whatever you want, for a hip split, just to give you a little more room at the bottom of the sweater. And now we can look at it. Deja Vu. This is one of the first style sweaters that I brought when I came on YouTube, when I was sharing how to do my simple counting system and to work my sweaters step by step. So I hope, I do hope you give this one a try, because you need to get some numbers. You need to take, you need to do some counting. You need to see if you fit into one of the size that on my little help chart. That's just to help you to kind of have a place to, like, okay, yeah, I can fit into this one. And then we can go from there later on and tweak the numbers, because the numbers, the size I give, they're all rounded up to a number divisible by 4, but there's a 4-stitch range. If the sweater is too loose, then you can go down 1 stitch or 2 stitch, 3 or 4. There's a range of 4 stitches. If it's too tight, you can add a stitch, add 2, add 3, you can add 4 and still be in your size range. So we're going to learn how to tweak and do all of that. But this is a basic sweater. Now, the next time we meet and do this sweater, okay, it depends on the time of the year. And I've got so many new things coming that I'm working on. But we'll come up with something really different. I'll see what I can find, a really more, an advanced stitch, or a stitch to kind of, step it up, as you say. But I wanted to bring something really simple and something that we've tried before. Deja vu in this stitch. So I hope you give this a try. I hope you enjoy it. It's a really fun knit. Knitting is work, but I'm telling you, if you want to be a knitter, you're just going to have to just enjoy the journey. Just enjoy the journey. And so, I can't think of anything else. This is Jay. This is Jay's Knit and Purl Jam. And as the song that came on says, working it, I'm going to be working it this summer. Trying to bring you new, better, and, just exciting new projects. So until then, this is Jay. See ya.